All right. I'm outside for a walk. It's a nice foggy day. And I was thinking about this experience I had yesterday and remembering something similar that happened over a year ago. Wanted to share these crazy thoughts. So I went to see the doctor, the mainstream welfare doctor, sometimes once a year, I think. I mean, this is new to me because I've been living abroad. So they ask you to come to do a routine check. What they do is they draw some blood and that's it. So the first thing I notice when I go in is the distance the doctor is sitting away from you. They have this large desk. It's really large and wide. It's like 2 meters you're standing away from the doctor. And it's curious because there's nothing on the table. It's just the computer screen and nothing else. And so it's almost like purposely distancing themselves from the patients. Now, I noticed this as well a year ago when I went to see this alternative doctor. That was really interesting. Uh, really interesting, negative experience. So I make this appointment, and everything seemed fine, right? Before I got in, they called me to. The lady at the desk tells me, before you go, you have to wear a mask, and I was like, why? I have to hide my face? Why do I have to hide my face? And she said, "Oh, the doctor, demands it." I was like waiting. I was waiting my options. I was like, "I've been here so far. It's like a half an hour from home, so I'm not going to turn around just because of this." So I put the thing on, and I am having trouble breathing because I'm not used to that thing. So there's a difference in temperature as well between the waiting room and the office. So it's more claustrophobic inside. I don't know why he had the heating on. So I sit down, I'm trouble breathing, and I look around. The guy is sitting like 3 meters away from me. Again, a wide, desk. And I'm like, okay. The guy is sitting with his eyes boggled, looking at me. Is like, "What's your name?" And I couldn't, catch what he said, and I had trouble breathing. And I was like, "I'm feeling uncomfortable. Can I take this thing off?" He's like, "What's your name?" And then I say to myself, "I don't think this is gonna work." And I'm not comfortable in giving you any name because he had the list in front of him, and I think the list starts with a name before he starts putting things in the boxes. And he's just worried about my name. He's not worried why I'm there, why I'm not comfortable. Am I sick? What is it? Why are you here? He's just interested in my name. So I say, "Look, this is not going to work. I think I'm going to leave." And then he says, "Then take the face diaper off," arrogantly. And I stand and I turn my back and leave. I mean, this is stupid. Why do they distance themselves from patients, these so called doctors? It's incredible, isn't it? They don't want to get their hands on the patient. They are just office workers. They are just analyzing the data. Similarly to what happened yesterday, the doctor just gave me some, you know, directions to go to this laboratory, draw blood, and come back with the results. And they just analyze what the data tells them. They don't check your pulse. They don't listen to your lungs or to your heart. They don't check your tongue or your eyes. They don't do those things anymore. Yeah, they don't get their hands on the patient. When did that happen? When did this switch happen? A doctor nowadays no longer gets involved with the patient. They're just a desk officer, a desk worker. Before, a long time ago, before the medicine became a discipline, I was reading in this book, the God's Philosophers. It's about figures who became, well known in history by by the role they played, in the world affairs, mostly around Europe, and their obsession on turning lead into gold. That was around those times. that medicine became a discipline. Before that, doctors got their hands dirty. They try to heal people, but when they forced them to go to the university and become this bureaucrats, you know, they stopped getting their hands dirty. And now they have someone else to do that job for them, and they just analyze the information. Um, it was around those times you couldn't treat a person if you didn't had a license. It was criminalized to treat people. You had to have a license. So from that moment on, they had nurses and other staff do the work while they just analyze the sheet. They analyze the box. It's everything. It's really that's when the switch happened. Completely mental. By the way, they achieved in alchemy. They achieved to change nothing, something that's not important. They achieved to turn it into something very valuable. Yeah, they achieved it. It was around when gold lost its value. Or when was it? When they switched from gold to paper money. When was that? The Federal Reserve? I'm not sure. When they criminalized actually having gold, you can't have gold anymore. That's when they switched. They achieved the alchemist dream. They turned common paper into gold, and everybody values these you know money. These paper values them as if they were gold. Anyway, that's just something interesting. Now they are very invested in changing pixels into gold. Yeah, now it's going to be pixels. um, Little by little, they call this, little by little, um, the society that we live in becomes almost like a claustrophobic nightmare. Little by little, they squeeze, they limited our movements, our actions. You can sense this soft power working in the background, squeezing life out of people. Yeah. I was listening to this philosopher, doctor slash professor. He's still alive, but it seems that he has his mind in the right place. And he was, I was listening to one of his presentations. He is also an author. He wrote some books who are quite known, and he said something. This soft power, you know, creeps in little by little until one day life no longer lives. It's one of the, effects, the side effects of tyranny is that life slowly no longer lives. They are so controlling. They squeeze and they squeeze until one day life no longer lives. And if people are checking out of the system, they're probably right. They see their liberty of movements getting smaller and smaller. There's no more choice. There's no choices available anymore. It's just that way, and there's nothing else. This is a side effect of all civilizations, I suppose, and that's how it eventually collapsed. When things get so control freak, when things become so bureaucratized, so technocratized. We're living now under a technocracy. Technology, is making their job a lot easier, and they squeeze even harder. They distance themselves from what's being human, like doctors. They distance themselves from the people, and they just, from a distance, they squeeze. They are control freaks, and life eventually no longer lives. There's no point. The juice is not worth the squeeze. So if everybody is just, making ends meet and becoming an hermit, a shut-in, you know, they call them incels. Not just men, it's also women. They just opt out. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. The other day, I live in a bubble, you know. The other day, I learned that a new law was passed here. You can't, if you have property, in your private property, if you have some trees and you want to get a chainsaw and a axe and start chopping firewood for the winter, you need a permit to do that. You no longer can, out of your own, privacy of your own home, you can't pick up a chainsaw and do it. No, you have to ask for a permit. It's becoming claustrophobic, Again, technocracy. From a distance, they want to they want to control any, you know, interaction, transaction. They want to monopolize and control, micromanage your life. And some even go further than that. They also want to micromanage your thoughts. The transhumanists, they want to put chips in your head to control even your thoughts. It's crazy. Why are these people so invested in micromanaging everything? Evil, of course. It's the nature of evil. Evil cannot create. Yeah. It can copy and mimic and control and, try to manipulate and monopolize. And that's how evil works. Because evil can't create. Evil doesn't have spontaneity, creativity. Evil doesn't understand satire or emotions. Evil doesn't understand a metaphor. Evil takes it literally, actually. That's why tyranny, hates free speech because they don't understand it. They're not capable of doing it. They hate laughter. Ooh, laughter, even in the Vedas, is mentioned. Laughter is like holy water for them. If they could, they would outlaw laughter, you know. All right, I think I'm going to shut up now. Have a nice day.